Most youth groups think they need a bigger budget or crazier events in order to grow their youth group. But the reality is that students are really looking for connection. In this episode, we're going to talk about 5 proven strategies that you can put into practice this week in order to continue to get students more involved in your youth group. I was like, hey, is anybody up for a texting night? And, we had 5 kids who were like, yep, I'm good for it. And I was like, hey, you guys meet at this Chick-fil-A. I gave it to Grace, who's our adult. I gave her the list, sent them the script, and I said, hey, text me what you guys want. So they all sent me their orders. I ordered it from my couch on the Chick-fil-A mobile app, delivered to their table. They texted 250 kids. So this is a great way to, instead of you having to be doing all the follow-up, a great way to kind of multiply that out. Keith and I have a lot of conversations behind the scenes. It's not just we don't
just did. We just
yes.
Before we filmed this, we're what should I do in this?
And so it's not just the podcast episode that we just kind of record and then we see each other the next week. There's kind of a constant dialogue, and one of the things that Keith and I often talk about is just our own ministries and kind of what we're seeing. And so Keith and I were having a conversation a while ago about kind of hey, we've got more first timers coming. How do we actually make sure that we're stewarding, what God sends us, that we're shepherding well, that we're really doing this. And kind of hitting the end of my bandwidth, I'm I don't have time to do anything else. I can't be, the one.
Clone yourself.
Yeah, I can't be the one texting all the students hey, you're coming to youth group tonight. We've grown past that stage. And so maybe if you're watching this, you're kind of you're past that stage, and that's a hard transition to make. But you kind of shared some things with me about hey, these are some things that we've done in the past, or we do, that kind of help us make sure that we are really doing our best to continue to fight for students' attention, to get more students involved, to follow up with first-time visitors, or to connect with ones who haven't been in a while. And the cool part about that was it wasn't hey, you need to order this, and you need to have all this stuff together. And then it's simple stuff that anybody could start doing, right away. And so in this episode, we're going to walk through just 5 simple things where you or your team can put into practice that can really start to help new visitors stick more, to reach more first-time visitors, and just easy, simple ways that anybody can do this. Yeah. And so that's kind of what this episode is about, and what we're going to be walking through. And so we'll give you the strategy, we'll give you why it works. This is not something that's just hey, in theory this would work. This is something that Keith or I have put into practice in our ministry, and then maybe some pro tips so they can learn the lessons the easy way rather than the hard way as we have. Yeah. So Keith, you want to share the first strategy that?
So the first one. We started doing this. Goodness, 17 years ago. And I'll explain how we did this at scale, which is, I don't know if I've ever told you this method. So I joined megachurch staff, so we had hundreds of students. So it's hard to care for them individually, at scale, when you have that many students. And so we started implementing call nights. So where we would on Saturdays call students. This was actually built into our staff time, where we would actually have hours allotted on Saturday afternoons or evenings, to call people to invite them to our Sunday programmings, and then Tuesdays to our Wednesday program. And so we would actually do social media blitz. We would actually, this is back in the day, where you had to have a physical, phone, not a cell, we had office phones, for students to use, where we'd give them each a list, and we'd come in and we would just go through the list, and we'd even have just kind of a sample script, where they can say to follow when they talk to someone. Mm-hmm. Most of them was leaving message. We didn't have a left message script. And we would categorize in this, the print off of the spreadsheet, whatever, of the student, we'd have a column to say the response. So if it was just kept ringing, left message, we'd have LM, mm-hmm. Left message, talked, and they are coming tomorrow, it's a yes, or we would do this before events. And so we would do calling campaigns or call nights. But we actually used to do this too for larger events, where we'd have, so we have consistent students of several hundred students, whatever, but then we'd have our larger list of students that had attended an event in the past 2 years. Mm-hmm. And so that would be thousands of students sometimes, because we had these huge, massive events and stuff. And so we did, have you ever heard of robocalls?
I feel like I know what that is, but I don't.
So actually, they used to be popular with politicians. You had to get a phone call and you'd pick it up, and it would just be someone, a recorded message from the politician.
Yeah.
like, saying like, hey, like this is what I'm about. This, and so I think there was like, I don't know the original connection, but there was a guy I think in our church that did this for a living. Like he had like a robocall company. And so I don't know how originally like got to, where we started using it, but for larger events, we would do robocall. So I would like record a voice message, like an MP3, and then we'd have to upload it to their system, whatever. And then we'd put all the numbers in the database. I don't even think this is probably legal anymore. But they would, so like at like a certain, we'd schedule
Potential spam would just block that right away.
I think there's lots of laws that have changed since then. But we would actually have we would schedule for a certain time, and it was funny because like if we were in the office like during that time, like all of our phones would ring at the same time, and then we'd pick up and it would be like one of our voices like saying like, hey, like come on out to, and we try to make it engaging and funny. And sometimes people like didn't know that it was a recording, so they're like, we gotten feedback like where it's like, hey, I was trying to talk to you, but you didn't,
It's like
you weren't responding.
It's like you ever call one of your kids and you get the voicemail. It's like, oh hey, it's like.
It's like, this is a message. Yeah.
It's like, I'm just kidding. I'm not actually here right now. And I'm like, oh, it gets me every time.
Yeah. So, so we did, robocalls like that for larger events, and people would, I mean, some were like, yeah, like I got your call last night. Like, and so it was definitely a cool way to engage a lot of people at scale because, it was hard just to pick up the phone and dial every single one of those people.
Yeah.
Call nights is a great way to engage people. Is what we're getting at.
Yeah, and there's a lot of different ways you can do it. So we, one of the things that you kind of shared and I've definitely learned is like this is a great place to get your students engaged and plugged in. Like to get all your volunteers together, like that can be really really difficult. But I asked some students, I was like, hey, who'd be willing to help? And like students were excited about this, and I even so we were getting ready for kind of our fall launch this couple months ago, and I had about 10 or 12 students, and I literally had the list printed out. I said, hey, this is our first time doing this. I didn't know I was going to go. I was like, hey, you guys can text them or you can call them. I said, which do you want to do? And I'm thinking they're going to be like, text. And they're like, let's call them all. And so I was like, okay, awesome. And so they started calling through. So yeah, I mean, you can do this before a big event. You can do this before a kickoff. You can do this just on a random week. Maybe that like a time where your attendance is normally low, like how to capture them. And the beauty of it is you can run a report of everybody who's been in the last year, or you can just say, hey, everybody who's been in the past 6 months that we haven't seen in the last month. You can even use that. And this is a great way. So one of our female leaders, she also helps me out with some things. And I was like, hey, like, is anybody up for a texting night? And, we had like 5 kids who were like, yep, I'm good for it. And I was like, hey, you guys meet at this Chick-fil-A. I gave it to Grace, who's our adult. I gave her the list. Sent them the script, and I said, hey, text me what you guys want. So they all sent me like their orders. I ordered it from my couch on the Chick-fil-A mobile app, like delivered to their table. They texted 250 kids. So like this is a great way to, instead of you having to be doing all the follow-up, like a great way to kind of multiply that out. A couple of, obviously this works because it's a real practical like touch, it's a one-on-one, like we have mass texting system that we use, but you kind of CEO that comes through and like, oh,
I guess that would be like the modern day robocall now.
Probably.
Like the text service.
But it really works because they're surprised that like somebody actually noticed, somebody cared, like somebody's willing to pick up the phone or text. But a couple of pro tips, and this is just like in a short time we've done this, so I'm sure you probably have some more things that you've. Make sure you give them a clear script. The first time we did this,
because then they're surprised when someone picks up and they're like, "Oh, hey."
Well, so actually, what happened is we had one kid who was texting some people, and I got a couple of texts from like some parents. They're like, "Hey, I think like somebody's like scamming like with like the youth group thing," because the kid like didn't include his name like in the text, and so like I went up to him. I was like. Dude, like, okay, we're gonna give you a script.
Yeah, it's like, hey, this is so and so from Grace Life.
But in the modern like spam day, like people are kind of like, I got a text from a number I don't know. So
click this link to sign up.
Exactly.
No.
And so make sure that like you go above and beyond of like helping them clarify. It's like, hey, no, this is so and so from this church. Like I'm texting you because. So make sure you're clear script. And then also too, one of the things that we had to learn is when kids put down their phone numbers, oftentimes they'll just put mom and dad's down. Even though we have a space for mom and dad's phone numbers. And so like we had one girl, she called and she was laughing and I was like, what happened? She was like, I called and I just hear hello. And she goes, is this Sadie? And it's like, no.
Is this the 7th grade girl that I'm trying to call?
And so we had to make sure our script was clear. Like, even if we do a text, it's like, hi, Keith, and then in parentheses, or maybe Keith's parents. And like that kind of covers those bases of like, okay, I understand like what's going on here. So a clear script, clear directions, go a long
You guys
way.
did it. You primarily texted, or did they call
We did.
some, or how did you differentiate?
The first night we did like a phone call night, and that was all phone calls.
Which, by the way, when I was doing this, like with the road, like you still had to like use the numeric keypad to text. Like it was like, so that's why like text messages were still like you probably had to still pay for every text that you sent.
Yeah, and you're like, this cost me 10 cents. Yeah, we did a phone call, and that went a long way. But then we've done text the past couple just because it's like another phone call from a random number. And the other part is too, it's like we are dealing with minors who like sometimes they think they're calling a kid and they end up getting a parent's number. So we just want to kind of like make sure that that's kind of as above board as possible. So we've done a couple different ways. You can also do like handwritten notes if you want, like to get everybody together and write handwritten notes, things like that.
Yeah.
But it's just another way to multiply yourself.
Which we've done that as well. So like when we would do like we would have different themes. So we'd have call nights, we'd have social media blitzes, which now like, I mean, it was funny because we would just have a whole bunch of computers open. And
You'd go into the computer lab.
like the computer lab to like, message people, like they would log in. And back then it was Facebook for teenagers. Like Facebook was like
What was that? You probably caught kids playing that.
MySpace.
No. What was that? Oh, you might have been too old for this, but like we'd go in the computer lab.
Wow.
And we would all play the like keyboard wizard game. Like, do you remember that?
Like where you learn typing.
Yeah. And it was like this like old wizard who'd guide you through it. Like, did you ever find kids like playing games on the computers in there?
No, they were there for just serving the
Wow, they just had such pure hearts.
Such pure hearts. No, but so they would message. I'm trying to think. This might have been. I don't think it was MySpace days. It might have been MySpace. Well, this is like 2008. When did I think
MySpace was like a little bit before me. Like I knew it, but I wasn't old enough to have it.
Before you were born?
No. Like before I was old enough to have social media.
Okay, so it was, I'm pretty sure it was like Facebook. We were on Facebook. Like teenagers were on Facebook, believe it or not, back then. And so, like no adults were really on Facebook yet.
Hey everyone, Ryan here, working on some Beyond the Youth Room stuff, and just wanted to make sure that you knew about our free online community for youth pastors and youth leaders, our Youth Ministry Mastermind. Our Youth Ministry Mastermind is a free community by youth pastors for youth pastors filled with free resources, live trainings, and a community of like-minded youth pastors from around the country and around the world, all working towards the same goal, to make disciples who make disciples in this next generation. And so everything we do here at Beyond the Youth Room is committed to that simple goal of helping encourage, train, resource, and equip youth pastors and youth leaders like yourselves in order to be better equipped to go and make disciples in this next generation. And so if you listen to this podcast, if you enjoy this podcast, first of all, take a moment, please subscribe, whether that's on a podcasting platform or YouTube. It just helps us continue to reach more youth pastors and youth leaders. But also, too, if you enjoy our content, but you have not yet joined the Youth Ministry Mastermind, we want you to do that today. The best way to do that is to follow that link that's in the description below. It'll take you right over there. It takes 1 minute to join, and everything is completely free. And when you join, I will reach out to you and say, hey, I would love to hear about what God is doing in your ministry. I've had the opportunity to talk to a couple of youth pastors here just in the past week or so, as always, and just so cool to hear their stories of what God is doing. And we just want to be an encouragement, support, be a listening ear, whatever we can do to help. So go ahead, take a break, check out that link in the description below, join the Youth Ministry Mastermind today, and then we hope you guys enjoy the rest of this episode. No.
So anyways, so we would do social media blitzes where people would write, like back then, you probably were too young, or you're probably too young for this, but you would write on someone's wall.
No, I remember that.
Okay, all right. So yeah, that was.
And the best part was if you scroll really far back on your Facebook, which is the worst thing to ever do, but because it used to be like Keith Seymour is, and then you'd fill it in, and so but they got rid of that, so now it's just
it's like weird.
It's just like Keith posted like eating a taco, and it's like, what is this?
Yep, I remember that.
We should never give minors social media.
Anyway, so we would do social media bliss. We would also do we would actually do this during our programming sometimes. Like we would write cards. But and we did this 2 ways. I think I told you about this. This may be for another episode when we're talking about like different outreach strategies and stuff. But what I did was I had them just so it was like more uniform and it wasn't like too crazy like what they would write. It's like I gave like kind of a script for a postcard where I would say like, "Hey, just wanted to encourage you. Here's my here's one of my favorite verses." And I even gave like a I put on the screen like just a sample like script. And then I actually had pieces of paper where I had a box on that piece of paper and had them write in the piece of paper, but then I copied that onto like I had a printer like copy those responses onto postcards, like printed postcards. So it was handwriting, but it was actually printed. But that would give me an opportunity to kind of vet. It wasn't just like some random or it's like I can't even read this sixth grade boy. Like, what were you trying to write here?
Yeah.
So we would do that, and we would print them off, and we actually put them on like during the services, like at our church, we would go out in the parking lot and put them on the windshields of everybody that that was there like that day, or whatever, as like a note from our student ministry.
Yeah.
And like talking about like shattering the stereotypes, like teenagers thought of us. Like it was just like it was such a cool response for the rest of our church too. Which I haven't done that in a long time. I should probably do it
Yeah.
again. But anyways, yeah, I had them write like different postcards and stuff, or I've done different things where they wrote postcards to people that haven't been there for a while, or or even an invite. So it's like when you have them write an invite card to someone that they're gonna hand that to, like that's like another level of like personal like touch with when it comes to even an invite to invite them to an event.
Absolutely. So yeah, so we have fun and friend nights, and you can do that. You can take that, run with that, do all different sorts of things. The second thing we have is just kind of we've talked about kind of like keeping things fresh, and I think
You mean like food, like just making
yeah,
sure that
absolutely. We don't do that. I mean, half of our snacks are expired like last year.
That's actually we don't actually get them until they're expired. So
I mean,
they're just,
flaming hot Cheetos don't go bad. Those things will survive in a landfill forever.
you know what I learned recently? So expired medicine. There's like some medicine that actually gets more toxic when it expires, and there's some that gets less effective when it expires.
That'd be a fun game night.
So I'm wondering if it's the same thing with like flaming hot Cheetos. Like, do they get like hotter when they expire, or like do they get like less? Okay, yeah,
Well, we can try it. But in terms
Taste
of
test.
keep things fresh, we're talking about like youth events, and here's kind of the reality of this. We can focus on hype and building hype and getting kids in through hype. This is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about kind of rewarding the kids who are consistently coming and using these events or change-ups as an excuse to invite kids back. So, for instance, we just did a big event last week.
Neon night.
Yeah. And
Which I'm totally stealing.
Go for it. I hope everybody steals it.
Yeah, so I'm totally stealing.
yeah, and we'll talk more about what we did in a later episode. But we saw so many. We used that as an excuse to get kids in to text everybody who'd been in the last 6 months who hadn't registered for the event yet. And we just texted all of them, said, "Hey, here's the event we're doing. We'd love for you to come. Love for you to be there." We saw so many kids that we haven't seen in months show up. And so by keeping things fresh, it's not always like that new student that you're trying to reach, although we saw 30 first-time visitors. For us, it was more so the important part for me was really to like, okay, where are the kids that we know, like, trusted Christ here, but have just kind of fallen away for one reason or another. Like, let's have an excuse to get them back in, and maybe they'll see, oh, like, I remember this was so good for me. Like, this is what God had for me. And so we kind of use them as re-engagement nights to kind of say, okay, let's specifically target the kids who maybe have kind of gotten distracted, fallen away, gotten busy. Like, let's get them back in. And that's been really, really helpful because then it kind of takes I don't feel like, oh, well, we have an invite night coming up. It's like, no, every night is an invite night.
Yeah.
Every day is gospel day. Like, it's not just the second to last day at camp. It's like every day is gospel day. But it just kind of gives you a negative connotation, but you understand what I mean. It kind of gives you an excuse to reach back out to that student and be like, hey, we've missed you, but we're having this really cool event. And so just by doing that, it kind of creates that excitement. And I've kind of realized too, it's like following Jesus wasn't the same thing every week. Like, it wasn't just like, oh, well, we met in the synagogue and we talked. It's like you never knew what was going to happen when you were around Jesus. But oftentimes kids come to youth group, it's like, well, I know what we're going to do today. So just kind of doing that isn't a bad thing as long as we're not building it on hyper excitement.
I've even found like mixing things up, like this doesn't even involve a lot of planning, but like mixing the order of stuff like that happens in your regular programs. So like, I mean, talking about, and I remember years ago, like there was, I don't remember where I got this from, but they were just saying like making your programs, your experiences like just memorable. Like it doesn't even have to be like that. That's what you're focusing on. Like this is like, we're going to have laser tag. And it's like, you don't even have to.
Was it
like,
Chip and Dan Heath, the Power Moments?
Maybe it was. Yeah.
With a popsicle phone at the pool. So there's this story of like this kind of older hotel, which didn't have anything special, but kind of what you're talking about. But they went above and beyond like the ordinary.
Oh,
So like they had a phone at the pool where you could call it and order a popsicle, and somebody would bring you a popsicle.
Yeah.
And so it was like not like this fancy hotel, but it had just like rave reviews, and like nobody like had no availability because they were so far booked out, because the small things they actually like made a big deal about. So it didn't cost them a ton of money, but it's just kind of this fun experience of like kids getting to pick up the phone and like call somebody and be like, oh, what flavor popsicle would you like? And they said this, and then they got delivered to them.
Yep.
I mean, it's different than just like having a freezer chest full of popsicles that like somebody can take from. So yeah, that's the book that kind of talks about that a little bit.
Yeah, and so one of the things like I've done over the years, like where students walk in and all the chairs are facing a different direction. And like, I mean, and you would not think that would be like such a big deal, but they're like, they cannot, like, they're like, what is going on? Like, why are we doing this? Like, what?
Now, normally after they leave, all the chairs are facing a different direction.
Yeah, but no, like literally you just walk in and it's just like a different feel of your youth room, or like, and yeah, so even just, and then like one time I did all the chairs in the circle and I just taught from the middle, and it was just like, and I was just constant, like, just, walking around, like, and so, I mean, things like that, like, can mix things up where it's, like, more memorable. And like, oh, yeah, that was the night that the chairs were backwards.
Yeah.
It's like, I didn't think you were going to remember that, but, like, I'm glad that you remembered, the demonic man that got healed. It's like, what,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, but with that, too, like, to have, just some quarterly events, at least, like, we do, like, fall bash, like, summer bash. We do, like this month in October, as we're filming this, we're about to do our we call it Pumpkin Palooza. And so Pumpkin Palooza is like a pumpkin themed event that we have, but we're also going to do neon dodgeball. So a lot of fun stuff. But yeah, I saw on one of the youth ministry pages, and I almost want to look it up to give him credit. I can't remember who it was, but the Flapjacks and Flannel. Did you see that?
Yeah.
He did a flannel. Like everybody wore flannel shirts and they ate pancakes, and it was like this
Simple
whole
enough.
Yeah, I was like, that's kind of brilliant. Like, just I mean, where it's memorable and it's super cheap to have that many pancakes,
And everybody gets a free axe. They go home with it.
Yeah, they're giving out axes.
Number 3 is just kind of improving your follow-up. We've talked about this a lot, but there's a couple simple ways that you can do this. So when the new student comes, like, again, we're fighting for their attention. And so we're not trying just to get them back. We're trying to create a new rhythm in their life. Mm-hmm. So think of anything else as we've talked about. It's like I join a gym, like somebody's saying, hey, like, hey, we have a personal trainer. We'd love for you to get involved. And what do we all do with those text messages? We're like, nah, I'm good. But for the person who really desires it, like that's something that really helps them. And so most students want to come, but just because of life schedules and the chaos and they're not driving, it becomes really, really difficult. And so we want to grease those tracks as easy as possible for them to keep coming back. And so there's multiple ways you can do that, just by being ready immediately. So having those, new believer booklets we've talked about before, having Bibles available, welcome gifts on hand, just kind of being prepared for new students. Number 2, just like connecting really quickly. So a student comes, hey, don't wait like 4 days and be like, hey, it was so great to have you at youth group this past Sunday night. Cause they're like, what are you talking about? Like, what do they do? So connect quickly and connect with their parents. And then like layer your follow up. So it's not just like, well, I sent them a text. Yeah. I don't know why they haven't come back. It's like, send a postcard, invite them back, send a text message a week later saying, hey, we missed you. The next week goes by. Like, even through our mass texting service, we have one girl, she came, she trusted Christ. And, she's the one who like always responds when I send out like, hey, see you guys tonight. And she's the one who's like, hey, I'm sorry, I can't, like I have soccer practice. And, it's through a mass texting service. So I'm not like going to go in and reply to her specifically for obvious reasons, but it was just kind of funny to me. It's like, this is somebody who's like, oh, sorry, I can't tonight. And then she was there again last night. And like, so just by doing that, you never know who actually like, are like, wow, this is different.
Which I told you about how we used to do, like we were way over the top at some points.
Oh yeah. You guys would sneak out during youth group and put stuff on their doorstep.
We're going to go deliver a yard sign.
If you did that today, man.
I don't know, man. That would be like so above and beyond. I don't know. Yeah, it would be. It was pretty.
Maybe it's just because we live in a government secure like kind of community where it's like some people are like, I don't even want you to know where I live.
Yeah, we would actually open up the front door and put like a care package on their. No, I'm just kidding. No.
Well, now with Ring doorbells, like there would be no surprise.
Now, I mean,
at all.
like that's not even far fetched. Like Amazon does that. Like you can have a service where Amazon will bring your package into your house and put it inside your house.
That's.
And so I mean, like in some areas, like I don't think that's like universal, but like with that too, like I mean, if people are going above and beyond for business purposes, like so anyways, to rewind on that, we would have a student fill out a visitor card, and then we'd have a team that would go deliver something to their house while they were still there. And then when they got home, they were like, it was like a yard sign that said like, "Thanks for visiting, our youth group."
I have to think about that a little bit.
It got pretty costly and very. I mean, because like we have a pretty. I mean, it's like we were going to like. I mean, people had to go all the way to Woodbridge, and so from here it's like 45-minute drive. Like, and
You're trying to beat them home.
no, yeah, it's like or like even worse if like
They're getting home at the same time. You're like,
yeah, yeah,
glad you came tonight.
yeah. That was yeah.
See you next week.
And but no, we were just trying to be intentional and go over the top with new students. And but I'm telling you, like no other church did that.
No,
Like no one else. Was
they would remember that.
Yeah,
for sure.
something like it was very memorable. Maybe creepy, but very memorable.
Nope, don't go down that road, right?
Well, and also like you see, like all of your neighbors see, like wow, like they visited that church.
Yeah, and they might be like, I go to that church. It might be,
Yeah.
So yeah, just make sure that you're really following up, because think of like the courage and effort it took for a kid to bring their friend, and then oftentimes you're like, oh, cool. And in the reality, it's like, no, we want to honor that by doing our best. Number 4, meet them where they're at. So just the idea of like being in the community.
Which that's not proper grammar, is it? Meet them where they are.
Well, but there is a contraction, so it's meet them where they are at.
Where they are at, yeah. That's a preposition at the end of the phrase, so you don't say that.
All right, we get it. You watch
Meet them
Schoolhouse
where
Rock.
they are. Yeah.
Okay. Could be a long day.
Sorry, I had a boss when I worked for a coffee shop, and he was always correcting me. Like I talk like that all the. I was like, "Where are the dishes at?"
Keith,
He's
we
like,
went
hanging off the end of that preposition.
We went to the same high school. I probably had the same English teacher you had.
Yeah.
Anyways, meet them where they're at.
Where they are.
Yeah. And just that idea of like being a part of their world. Mentioned this before, right? Like you see your math teacher in math class. Okay. You see your math teacher in the grocery store. It's like, huh? Like that. It just kind of catches you off rhythm. So,
which, by the way, I'm sure you had this happen where you see a student in the wild, like in your public, like store. What do they immediately say when they see you?
Yeah, it's like, oh, sorry, I wasn't at youth group the other night.
Exactly. Yeah, like you don't have to say a single thing, and immediately they're like, hey, like sorry, I haven't been there in a couple weeks. Like,
yeah,
it's actually pretty fun.
And it happens all. Did I tell you about my? I mean, we're swapping some stories in this episode. That's okay. Did I tell you about my 7-Eleven experience with this? All right, so this is when I first realized, like, I mean, we're not a.
Okay, hold on. I have another story too.
Yeah, we're not a huge church, but like we're a pretty decent sized church in our community and growing, So really now it's kind of like a game. Kathleen hates playing this game, but every time it's like, guess who I saw? Like I went to a grocery store, I went on public, guess who I saw today? And it's always somebody connected to church. But there was one time, I don't even know, Kathleen, I think she was pregnant with Henry, and I was coming home late from something, and she was like, I'm probably going to put this blame on her because she won't listen to this podcast. But I think she was like, I really want like a Slurpee. So I was like, okay, whatever. So it was like summer and stop at 7-Eleven. It's like 11:30 at night. And I had like cookies and like 2 giant Slurpees, like waiting to fill up at like the Slurpee machine. And there's like a little bit of a line. Like, why is there a line at 11:30 at night at 7-Eleven for the Slurpee machine? But there was. And this like huge guy just turns around and he looks at me and he's like, I know you. And I'm like, you do? He's like, yeah, I know you from somewhere. And I'm just kind of like, okay. I'm like trying to think, like, I have no idea. And he just goes, you work at that church. And I was like, yep, I do. And I literally looked at him and I was like, please don't hold this against me, because I literally had like cookies and like 2 giant like Slurpee cups, like 11:30 at night. And I think I like just preached like the past Sunday, like in main service. And so just that idea though of like being out in the community, like actually goes places. And so, but before you share your story, it's like we went to a football game the other night at one of our local high schools. We probably knew 100 kids, and like 50 of them hadn't been to youth group in a while. And so it's just simply walking, through the crowd and just kind of like, I just kind of hang out and just kind of an excuse to be like, hey, we really missed you at youth group. Like we would love for you to come back. And just by doing that, it's like, okay, it's not just at the church and they're like, hey, they just want me to be at youth group. It's like, no, they actually care about me because they're going out of their way to come to this event, to be around the students, to really engage and invite them back. And if you have kids, like that's a great thing to do as well, because then it's like, it takes some of the awkwardness out of it. Like you're there with like your little ones and they're running around, and they'll recognize their little ones way before they recognize you, because it's like Jackson like can't get through. They're all like Jackson, and so it's just cool to be able to do that. So when we go outside of our way to really see them by going to their games, concerts, competitions, now it gives us an excuse. And then here's the cool part: they're always with like different friends that we haven't seen. So then it's just like, hey, like every time I hear this, I'm sure you hear the same thing. I walk away and everybody's like, "Who's that?" And you just hear like my youth director, my youth pastor, and so it's just another way to even do that.
So we had a student that I ran into and I call it like the wild, but it's just public. So we were getting ice cream and he happened to be there, and he was with a girl that I hadn't met, and I was like,
Oh no.
who is this? Like, and I mean, I try not to make it awkward or, like just like put him on the spot or whatever, but like, so he introduced me to her or whatever. But like,
Now I have a story. This is
it was just them. Maybe we just have the new Youth Group Chronicles episode here. Like we're just telling stories.
Yeah, but these are just our mediocre stories.
They're not as epic. But we had, so anyway, so I just saw him like, an ice cream, like just walked up and said, hey, and then he introduced me to whatever. And he's like, yeah, we work together, but like, we're just coming over to grab some ice cream, whatever. So I was like, okay. So then I'm literally like driving. It was like in the promenade at Gainesville. Like, I'm like driving and I look over and I see him again with the same girl. Like they're just sitting in that like, that common area or whatever, like, in a chair. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to like really freak him out. So I I took a picture of him. Like he never saw me. I took a picture like as I was driving past, like I kind of
What did Caroline think of this?
She was laughing, whatever.
Oh, okay.
This is not uncommon. Like this.
Kathleen gets so embarrassed. She's like, Ryan, you can't do this.
I took a picture and then I texted it to him, and he was like, "What?" Like he's like, "This is so weird." Like I mean, he was like, he laughed or whatever, but then he was like, so then he later told me he was like, "Thank you for like being there, like when I was like with," and I was like, "Why?" He's like, "Well," he's like, "because when you text me that picture," he's like, "then I knew, like it was confirmation." I was like, "For what?" He's like, I was trying to date this girl that wasn't a believer. And he's like, but I kept running into you in public. And so he's like, I just knew that was a sign from the Lord that like, I shouldn't be doing this.
Huh.
I was like, I had no idea. I was like, I seriously wasn't trying to like, but that, so I saved his life. I mean,
there you go.
Could have gone down a deep, dark road.
No, what I was going to say is, have you ever been in the wild and confidently gone up and said hi to one of your students who's with their significant other? And you remember the name of the old significant other, and you call them that, and now all of a sudden it gets
that's
weird.
Like Thanksgiving dinner every year for my family. Like that's
So it's like there's no recovering from that. It's like, okay, well, good to see you.
Is this the one that was? It's like, no. Yeah, we did that. My father-in-law was like infamous for that. Like we had a cousin that would just like bring a different girl every year, and so he was like, oh yeah, I met you last year. Just like, nope, this is my first time here. And
it's a great way to get first-time visitors at youth group,
So,
last one, because it's all right. We're having a good time.
Yeah.
The last one is kind of by helping them get plugged in and focused on small groups. So if you have a huge, large event or main teaching time, but you don't actually have a time where they can get to know others their age, it's easier for them to get lost. Yeah. And so really empowering our small group leaders to kind of reach out to them and say, hey, like, who in your small group have you not seen in a while? Like, who could you reach out to? Hey, we also encourage them to have small group events where it's not just like, okay, the next big event that's on me. It's so much easier. I was talking to somebody else. It's like, hey, remember when I was talking to my old youth leader and he was like, remember when we used to go tubing? And one of our leaders was like, we should go tubing. And I was like, let me explain to you like the difference. Like we had 10 kids in 2 minivans, like, and we'd drive up and drive back. Now it's like I have to rent three charter buses and spend multiple thousands of dollars and then get release forms. And then what do? Do we rent out the tubing facility? Because we're like, this is not the same.
There's not a river big enough anymore.
No, but it's so easy when, again, they can take 10 kids and we want to make sure everything's in place, but like they can go do fun events like that. So really leveraging them to do that. As we grow larger, we must grow smaller. And then, really helping them develop those relationships within those friend groups. Like we had something the other day where we were talking about claiming I heard the quote for the first time, it's easier to wear a cross than to bear a cross. And that really stuck with me. And so we were talking about that a little bit. And one of our small group leaders was like, hey, it was really interesting. Like one of our girls who's in our small group who's really we can kind of see she kind of is staring down both paths right now. She has to make a decision. And we were just talking generally about like, hey, how do you help somebody who claims to be a Christian, but like their lives just don't really, bear fruit? And not that we then go judge and we're fruit inspectors, but just kind of like, how do we kind of help encourage, hold them accountable? And one of our small group girls in that small group was like, kind of like, yeah, I'm thinking of like this girl. And she was like wise enough to not say who it was, but just kind of like, I think I need to talk to her. And so it's just kind of cool where it's like, then it was kind of like the girls in the small group, holding the other girls in the small group accountable. And so when you really do that, now it kind of creates that second layer of like looking out for each other and kind of and holding them closer. And that's ultimately what we want. Like, it's not sustainable for us to be the one or even the leaders to be the one. Like, it really has to come down to them seeing each other and being like, hey, we missed you at youth group. Like, hey, like, we want you, I hope you can make it this week. Like, hey, it's just so much more fun when you're there, like doing those types of things. So really leveraging that small group to be able to get kids to stick and stay involved.
That's huge. Yeah. Well, and that's where, you want to make it as small. And that's what we've kind of had to do, as a mega church. Like, we've had to shrink down people's experience for them to be able to like feel like a part of it. Like, we want to, have that experience. Like, of course, like if they're in a large group, whatever, but if they're not connected into a smaller group, then like they're not going to stick. So like, that's immediately like even new students, introduce them right away to their small group leader, introduce them to other people like in their small group so that they can stay connected.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, hopefully this is helpful to you as you continue to grow your youth group. Of course, ultimately we want to grow God's kingdom, not our kingdom. And so as we continue just to reach students, ultimately with the end goal in mind that this is for eternity, not for our programs or youth groups. But if you did get value out of this, we would love for you to subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, wherever you're watching or listening to this. We would love for you to subscribe, as that just helps us kind of continue to reach more youth pastors and youth leaders. And then also too, if you're looking to continue this, we know that this, what we want to be careful of is not to go so far in this where they're relying upon us. And so if you want to kind of think about, hey, how do I kind of do this without creating a consumer mindset in youth ministry? We actually did a podcast episode on that, how to eliminate the consumeristic mindset in youth ministry. Keith's going to correct my grammar if I don't say it right now. But you can go ahead. That episode is popping up. If you're on YouTube, go ahead, check that out, and we'll see you on the next episode.